Would you buy a house with someone you're not married to? That's the question for today. In today's modern society, many people are choosing to cohabitate together, although they are not legally tied together. The two hasn't become one. The two is still two. But just because you are not married doesn't mean you cannot embark on the journey of home ownership. I think that it is definitely possible to successfully cohabitate with someone you're not married to and own a home together. But I think that it is crucial that you have certain conversations with this individual before you start the home buying process. And I put together a list of 10 topics that you should talk to your partner about before you embark on the home buying journey. Number one, you need to discuss net income, not gross, not salary, but net income. Bring home money. How much money are they bringing in the households? Women and men, if you are dating someone who has a child outside of the relationship, you should discuss child support. And you should do this for two reasons. Number one, if they're not currently on child support, is there a possibility that somewhere down the line they could end up on child support? How many children do they have? Because that will determine how much child support they would have to pay. And number two, child support can become a lien against your property. It's good to have this conversation before so that you are better prepared to create a budget. Number two, job stability. How stable is your partner's income? How stable is their job? Do they have certain skills or a certain degree that could enable them to find a job easily if they were to lose their current job? Number three, debt. How much debt does this person have? I would suggest that the net income conversation, you have it with pay stubs available, pay stubs or bank statements available. And when you have the conversation on debt, you need to have credit reports and not and I'm not talking the free credit reports. You should be able to look at credit reports from each of the credit bureaus so that you get a full picture of your partner's finances, how they pay bills, how much debt do they have, do they owe student loans, do they owe credit card companies? All of this information is available in their credit report. Number four, you should discuss payment structure. Budgeting. How much are you going to pay into the household? How much are they paying into the household? You've already gone over income and you've gone over credit, but now how do you use that information to create a budget? How much rent is your partner paying now? How much rent are you paying now? What utilities are you both paying currently? What financial obligations do they have now or in the future? Remember, student loans may be in a deferral status, but eventually they're going to be due, and that will directly affect your budget. Number five, household expectations, right? So once you become a homeowner, certain things are on you. Well, everything is on you as a homeowner. Are there certain things that you can do physically? Do your job allow you the time to do those things physically? Or are you going to have to hire someone to do certain things, such as manage a backyard or a lawn, shoveling snow, cleaning the front of the home? These are household obligations that have to be addressed, not just the obligations of cleanliness inside the home, but also maintenance of the home is something that should be addressed, and the cost of maintaining a home. Down payment money, right? So when you're looking at someone's bank statements and pay stubs, something that should be going through your mind is, does this person make enough money? Do they have enough savings for down payment and closing costs. When it comes to owning a home, especially as a couple, you don't have to split everything 50-50, but you do need to have a discussion as to how it will be split. Down payment and closing costs are going to be determined by the price of the home, but you should at least have some idea of how much each person has and how much each person is willing to pay, right? Because I may have $70,000 saved up, but it doesn't mean that I'm willing to use $70,000 towards the down payment and closing costs. I may be saving up for a big purchase of something else, and I have $20,000 that I'm willing to use towards down payment and closing costs. Either way, this is a discussion that you need to have. Number 7, and this is a very important one. Number 7 is very, very important, and you need to handle this before you buy the house. How are you going to title the home? When you are not married, there are 2 options you have when it comes to home ownership. You can buy it as tenants in common or as joint tenancy. So this is something that you need to look into, and you need to sit down and discuss this with your attorney. But before you get to that point, this is something that you should have a conversation about ahead of time. So tenants in common will mean that each of you own the home together, but if something was to happen to one of you, let's say one of you was to pass away, the other one doesn't own the home 100%. So let's say you bought the home 50-50, and you told your attorney at the time of purchasing the home that you are buying the home as you're buying the home with each of you owning 50% of the home. If something was to happen to one of you, that 50% will go to your estate. It doesn't go to the partner. That's the great thing about tenants in common, is that it protects your interest. So let's say, as an example, I have 2 children, right? So let's say I was to buy a home with a boyfriend, and I would want my interest, because I would want everything that I own to go to my children. I would set it up as tenant in common so that if something was to happen to me, 50% of that home will be willed to my children. My boyfriend will still own 50% of the home, but he will now own his 50% with my children. He doesn't get 100%. So all the money that I've been investing, and the time and energy that I've invested into the home doesn't go to a boyfriend, it goes to my children. Joint tenancy is different. So with joint tenancy, it has the right of survivorship, which means if something was to happen to me in the same situation, my boyfriend will then own 100% of the home. My children would get nothing. So when you are ready to buy a home with a boyfriend, someone you're not legally married to, you have to make sure that you know how you want the title of the home set up. That is so important. And it's important to do it at the beginning, because you don't know what tomorrow will bring. And everybody think that they're going to live forever, but the reality is we are all going to relinquish our existence at one point in time on this earth. So having this set up ahead of time makes for a smoother process at the end. Number 8, mortgage or deed. Will both of you be on the mortgage, or will only one of you be on the mortgage and both of you will be on the deed? Again, there's no right or wrong, but this is something that you have to discuss with your partner. When it comes to the mortgage and deed, they're 2 very different things. The mortgage is the financial aspect of the home. The mortgage is how you're paying for the home. Is one of you paying for the home 100%, or only one of you eligible to get a mortgage? These are conversations you have to have. I think to make it as fair as possible, both of you should be financially responsible to get a mortgage. But maybe you have a strategy where one of you is going to get a mortgage on this house, and then another one is going to get a mortgage on an investment property. Maybe, but either way, this is a conversation that you need to have ahead of time. If you're going to be part owner of the home, both your names need to be on the deed. Number 9, and this one is maybe controversial, but what ifs, right? You should bring up what ifs. What if we do not get along? What if we decide we want to break up? What if I find that you cheated on me and I no longer want to live in a house with you? What ifs? These are conversations that you need to have with your partner as well, just so that you can address certain things ahead of time that could possibly come up later on down the line. And number 10 is a written agreement. While this isn't something that is as important as the other items on the list, I do think it's important to note certain items, note certain things that you've discussed. Once you sit down and go over all of these topics, you should write some things out. Even if you're using your cell phone in your notes section, you write out certain things, share it with your partner. Maybe your partner took some notes and they can share it with you. Having things in writing makes it real. And it also sets a precedence, right? On this date at this time, we sat down and we discussed these particular items and we left these particular items to be addressed at a later date. Something like that. Or we both agreed to make 50-50 payments on this, that, and whatever. Having something written down just makes the process a little easier when incidents occur and you can't remember what you actually agreed to. Life happens at a very fast pace. So having something written down that both of you have agreed to just makes it easier. You can write it down. You can email it to each other. You can print it out and have it posted somewhere so that you see it. But either way, having something written down makes things a lot smoother, especially when the unexpected occurs. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more videos.